لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن سيدنا محمدا عبد الله ورسوله صلى الله عليه وسلم أرسله الله بشيرا ونذيرا بين يدي الساعة ما يطع الله ورسوله فقد رشد ما يعصي الله ورسوله فإنه لا يضر إلا نفسه ولا يضر الله شيئا. أما بعد، معاشر المسلمين، أوصيكم ونفسي أولا بتقوى الله عز وجل، فإن الله تعالى يقول بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم: يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. إن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة. Now in this khutbah, I want to address the time and season in which we are. I don't know how it is down here, but up in Canada, if one were to go to one of the shopping malls around this time, one would find that there are Christmas carols being played in your ears. At your workplaces, people may be gathering and pooling money to buy gifts for each other. There may be a Christmas tree set up somewhere, and everybody's talking about Christmas, asking, what are you doing for Christmas? So how does a Muslim behave in this situation? I see that this gives us the opening to present a message about Islam. We believe in Jesus. He's referred to in the Quran as Isa alayhi salam. And the Quran mentions only praises for him and nothing negative. Isa is mentioned by name in the Quran 25 times. There are two surahs of the Quran that are named after the family of Isa alayhi salam. Surah Maryam, the 19th chapter, is called Surah Maryam because it tells us in detail the story about Maryam alayhi salam and how she received the message from the angel that she will have a child. Surah Al Imran has that story as well. And it is called Al Imran because here we see that the father of Maryam alayhi salam is Imran. Nothing negative in the Quran is mentioned about Jesus. On the other hand, the Quran defends Isa alayhi salam from the calumny and the slander of those who opposed him. In the 4th chapter of the Quran, in Surah An-Nisa, Allah makes reference to that statement of the others. وَقَوْلِهِمْ إِنَّا قَتَلْنَا الْمَسِيحَ عِيسَى ابْنَ مَرْيَمَ رَسُولَ اللَّهِ وَمَا قَتَلُوهُ وَمَا صَلَبُوهُ وَلَكِنْ شُبِّهَ لَهُمْ. And as for their saying, we killed the Messiah, Jesus, son of Mary, the messenger of God. But they killed him not, nor did they crucify him, but it was made so to appear to them. They also uttered a slander against the mother of Isa alayhi salam. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran defends the mother of Isa alayhi salam against their slander and refers to their talk as buhtanun azim, as a great slander. Now we must reflect upon this. What is the significance of the fact that the Quran speaks well of Isa alayhi salam, doesn't criticize him, and defends him against the criticism of others? The Quran was revealed to our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And if anyone were writing a book on his own, you would expect that person to talk about his own greatness and even to put down others, because that's what we do. If we want to show that we are great, we put down other people to show they're bad, we are good. But in the Quran, the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ is reciting these words which are revealed to him in praise of other prophets and messengers, especially Isa alayhi salam. So that shows that the Quran is revealed to the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. It is not his own composition. More to the point, whereas others attacked Isa alayhi salam, Islam defends him. And this is an important entry point for da'wah. When we talk to others, we should let them know that we actually believe in Isa alayhi salam and we defend him against the attacks of others. Now, what does it mean to follow Isa alayhi salam? In the Quran, we have an indication of what it means to follow somebody or to claim affiliation with someone. Where the Quran says in Surah Al Imran, إِنَّ أَوْلَى النَّاسِ بِإِبْرَاهِيمَ لَلَّذِينَ اتَّبَعُوهُ وَهَذَا النَّبِيُّ وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا. Those who have the greatest claim to Abraham alayhi salam are those who follow him and this prophet and the believers. So they have the great claim. Doesn't make any sense you say, oh, Abraham was such a great prophet and he's our man, but you don't follow him. The same principle applies to Isa alayhi salam as well. If somebody says, I believe in Isa alayhi salam, well then why do you not follow him? The word Christian actually means follower of Christ. More so, it means imitator of Christ. One who imitates him, one who copies him, is a true Christian by definition. Now we should ask, who actually follows Isa alayhi salam? When a Muslim says the Shahada, saying La ilaha illallah, the Muslim is actually following Isa alayhi salam. Because what did he declare as the creed, as the declaration of faith? It is noted in the Gospel according to Mark in chapter 12, verse number 27, that a man came to Isa alayhi salam and asked him, Teacher, of all of the commandments, which is the greatest commandment? And he said, the greatest is this, Hear, O Israel, the Lord your God, the Lord is one. The man said to him, You are right, teacher. There is only one God, and besides him there is no other. You can see how easily that will translate to our kalima. Besides him, there is no other. Min dunihi laysa min ilah, or la ilaha illahu, as we would say, and is mentioned in the Quran again and again. So Isa alayhi salam was teaching exactly what Muslims believe in today when we declare the first part of our Shahada. So we are following Isa alayhi salam. How did Isa alayhi salam pray? It is mentioned in the Gospel according to Matthew in chapter 26, verse number 39, that Isa alayhi salam fell on his face and prayed. What does that mean? It means that he made sujood. And we know from the Quran that the people before us made ruku and sujood. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us that Maryam alayhi salam was addressed, Ya Maryam kunuti li rabbiki wasjudi warka'i ma'ar raki'in. O Mary, be devoted to your Lord and make sujood and ruku' with those who make ruku'. So Isa alayhi salam, it is very clear, made sujood. And that raises the question, to whom was he making this sajda? Some time ago in one of our dialogues, this question came up. And the Christian speaker said, well, he wasn't worshiping, he was only praying. And then that leads to the question, what's the difference between worshiping and praying. And then somebody from the audience, a very simple person, said, well, do you mean that he was talking to himself? And the obvious answer to this is that Isa alayhi salam was a human being chosen by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to be his servant and messenger to deliver a message to others, but he worshipped the creator of the heavens and the earth. It is the same God that we all worship. So Muslims, by putting their faces on the floor as you do here today and worshiping the one almighty creator, the God of Abraham and Moses and Jesus and Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that one God that they all preach, you are followers of Isa alayhi salam. It is mentioned in the Gospel according to Luke that Isa alayhi salam as a baby was circumcised. And it is known from the Bible itself that his original followers were also practicing circumcision. We're talking here about male circumcision. But it was a later teacher, a man by the name of Paul, referred to by Christians as Saint Paul, who said that you don't have to be circumcised. In fact, what he said amounts to an anomaly, because he said, it doesn't matter if you're circumcised or not circumcised, what matters is keeping the law. But his statement is an anomaly because it is part of the law to be circumcised. In our law, it is a sunnah. But in the Bible, it is given as a direct commandment. In the book of Genesis, that commandment was given to Ibrahim alayhi salam. And it was given as a lasting commandment to be kept forever according to the Bible. So if the Bible is true, then this has to continue. And it means that Paul taught something different. So this is something for our Christian friends to figure out. How did they take a teaching from somebody later, not one of the original disciples of Jesus alayhi salam, and that became one of the hallmarks of the Christian faith. But now coming back to Isa alayhi salam and his original disciples, they were circumcised. So when a Muslim family gets their newborn baby boy circumcised, they are following Isa alayhi salam. So we have to say that when it comes to imitating Christ, since the word Christian means to imitate Christ, we should ask, who are the true imitators of Christ today? And when we fall on our faces to worship, when we say the Shahada, La ilaha illallah, in all of these ways, we are actually following Isa alayhi salam. So if you want to find the followers of Isa alayhi salam, look in the masjid. Now some say that they are following Isa alayhi salam and celebrating his birthday during this season. But is the birthday of Isa alayhi salam actually known? And the answer to that is no. The year of his birth is not known, not precisely. We count our years after his birth, so we're 2014 AD, soon to be 2015 AD. But the Gospel according to Matthew says that Isa alayhi salam was born when King Herod was ruling. And historians have established that King Herod ruled between 8 BC and 4 BC. That means the latest that Jesus was born is 4 years before Christ. I know it doesn't make sense when we say it that way, but that's because there is some discrepancy in the records, and one cannot know for sure in what year Isa alayhi salam was actually born. Do we know the day in the year in which he was born? There is nothing in our Islamic traditions that would indicate the specific day in the year. In Surah Maryam, when Maryam alayhi salam is addressed, she is being told to shake the palm tree and eat from the ripe dates. And some say that in Palestine, these ripe dates appear sometime in the spring, though that does not seem to be very definite. What is more clear is that in the Gospels, it says that at the time when Isa alayhi salam was born, the shepherds were out watching their flocks by night. Now I know Palestinian winters do not become as cold as our winters here in North America, but yet historians say that by September the rain started to fall and the shepherds would take their flocks in early. They would not be out at night in the winter season watching their flocks. So this means that Isa alayhi salam could not have been born in the winter season. Well then, how did December 25th come to be established as the birthday of Isa alayhi salam and celebrated so widely? This goes back to ancient pagan celebrations. In the ancient world, people worshipped the sun and the moon and the stars and the planets. And the Quran says, لا تسجدوا للشمس ولا للقمر واسجدوا لله الذي خلقهن. Do not prostrate to the sun and the moon, but prostrate to Allah who created all of these. But people didn't know this, so they worshipped the sun, for example. And for those who worship the sun, getting to the late part of the year was a distressing time. Because you know the days get shorter, your Maghrib time gets shorter, right? Up until December 21st, which is known as the winter solstice. Solstice, that's the name given to it. It is referred to as sun halt. They thought the sun is losing. The forces of darkness are gaining and the forces of light are losing. And then, after the sun starts picking up again from their perspective, this gave them reason for great celebration. They suspended work, they went into drinking and partying, they gave gifts to each other, and those celebrations actually continued into the Christian celebration. Because the Christian policy was that you do in Rome as the Romans do. When you're in Rome, do as the Romans do. So they tended to absorb the traditions and customs and practices of other people and to make them Christian. But we know that the early church fathers, the scholars of Christianity, for the first few centuries, were dissuading Christians from celebrating that day. They said this is a pagan holiday, don't celebrate it. But you know what happens. The scholars preach, but the common people do what they want to do, what they have fun with, and eventually that becomes common and the scholars become speechless. So this is what has happened now. That December 25th came to be celebrated as the birthday of Isa alayhi salam. But if you look back at some of the detailed items, you will find that they relate back to some pagan celebrations. There are some cakes that are being sold at this time. They're called Yule cakes. Yule meaning log. The log cakes. The idea is that when you slice those cakes, you get the shape of the sun. Because it's cylindrical. You cut the cylinder, you get a shape of a circle. So that's the significance of that cake. Many of the celebrations go back to pagan times. People worship trees in ancient times. And in the Bible, in the book of Jeremiah, there is strong criticism for those who go into the forest, cut down a tree with axe, and then bring it home and fix it in with nails, and then they decorate it with gold and tinsel. Well, today, people still do something similar. And it is interesting that on the one hand, the Bible is condemning that practice as having to do with ancient worship of trees, and today, monotheists are found doing the same thing, or those who mean to be monotheists, and we have a message to share with them. So brothers and sisters in Islam, we have an opportunity here to talk about belief in Isa alayhi salam. We have an opportunity to present the Islamic message, the messages of Tawheed. We should say, yes, we believe in Isa alayhi salam. Rather than celebrate his birthday, we celebrate his life. In the first place, nobody knows the year in which he was born. Nobody knows the exact day in which he was born. But we do know, dependably, that he taught monotheism. He taught that God is one. Read Mark's Gospel, chapter 12, verse 27 and forward. And so many other passages of the Bible, but there's no time to mention it now. We know that he practiced circumcision, he and his early followers. So we should ask, which community upholds that practice of Isa alayhi salam? We know that he fell on his face and prayed to the one God. And today, if we see Muslim communities being depicted in movies or on television, what do they show? They come in with their cameras and they show the Muslims are all making sujood. So who's known for following Isa alayhi salam in this practice today? It is the Muslims. So we want the message of the Quran to be known to others. Let them know that whereas there are other people who have criticized Isa alayhi salam and his mother, the Quran defends Isa alayhi salam and his mother. So people may have had a misunderstanding, misapprehension about Islam and about the Quran, whereas in fact, if they come to understand Islam and the Quran, they will see that Islam and the Quran is for Jesus, not against him. And to reclaim the true faith of Isa alayhi salam today, it is necessary to read the Quran and gain that insight. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help us all to do precisely that. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ به تعالى من شرور أنفسنا وسيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له وما يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن سيدنا محمدا عبد الله ورسوله صلى الله عليه وسلم أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد وصلى الله تعالى على جميع الأنبياء والمرسلين والملائكة المقربين والخلفاء الراشدين أبي بكر وعمر وعثمان وعلي ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. Brothers, sisters, before I leave this platform, let me just inform you very quickly that I am here from Canada only for this weekend, and my task here today and tomorrow is to hold some lectures and workshops to help the youth especially understand how do we deal with objections and criticisms that are launched against our faith. For example, tonight I'll be speaking about atheism. You know that atheism is on the rise. Many books have been written recently to promote atheism, and this is rife in the university campuses. To the extent that a young man said to me this morning that he was in a class, and when the teacher asked how many people believe in which religion, he was surprised that about half the class were atheists by their profession. So how do we deal with the questions and objections that they will throw at us? Regularly, I get questions by email from young people who have doubts because of the questions which are thrown from the direction of atheism. So we need to deal with that, inshallah, later today. Tomorrow, we will go into more depth regarding comparative religion, Islam and Christianity, and questions pertaining to comparative religion more generally. So tonight at 6:30, tomorrow at 3 o'clock. I'd like to see many of you there joining me on this couple of programs, inshallah. Now, to complete this khutbah, I want to end with dua, and we want to make dua especially for those who have passed away from among the Muslimin and the Muslimat. And we have 3 janazas to follow the second prayer here today. For the moment, we'll just make dua in general, asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive and to have mercy on these amwat. One of them is the father of a brother that is dear to you, a brother who is only 16 years old, very active in the masjid here. His father father has passed away, it must be a great shock to him. You should meet him, greet him, and console him, and ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give him sabr in this situation, having lost his father when he is of such a tender age. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless all of these amwat, to have mercy on them, to forgive their sins, and also to help the families to have patience in this moment of distress. اللهم اغفر لنا ولإخواننا الذين سبقونا بالإيمان ولا تجعل في قلوبنا غلا للذين آمنوا ربنا إنك رؤوف رحيم. اللهم اغفر للمؤمنين والمؤمنات والمسلمين والمسلمات الأحياء منهم والأموات إنك سميع قريب مجيب الدعوات. اللهم أيد الإسلام والمسلمين. اللهم انصر من نصر دين محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم واجعلنا منهم. ربنا لا تدع لنا ذنبا إلا غفرته ولا هما إلا فرجته ولا دينا إلا قضيته ولا مريضا إلا شفيته ولا ميتا إلا رحمته ولا حاجة من حوائج الدنيا والآخرة إلا قضيتها يا أرحم الراحمين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. وأقم الصلاة.